I think you should stand again. Quando espui papa nous, c'est pas faute à nous. Aidez-nous, pas nous force, pas nous courage. Fais à place, va nous à payer à nous. Why to go poorly? Nous dépendons, ouais, porter, quatre vaillants, ça m'a utilité. Ayundité nous fait canot, pour nous ça viva payer à nous. Bono sa viva peiano, bono sa viva peiano. Quando espui papa nous, c'est pas faute à nous. Aidez-nous, pas nous force, pas nous courage. Fais à place, pas nous à peiano. Why to go bully? Kalau mas nous condamné, ou mene malé. Ou fait nous changer la vie nous. Pisote ka viva peiano. Pisote ka viva peiano. Pisote ka viva peiano. Quando esprit papa nous, c'est pas faute à nous. Aidez-nous, pas nous force, pas nous courage. Fais en place, pas nous à peiano. Why to go bully? Why to go bully? Why to go bully? Why to go bully?
Thank you very much to the members of the Carina Cultural Group for that performance. I now invite Monsignor Eustace Thomas to lead us in the invocation.
Mais restez debout parce que puisque nous allons pour dire en créole, quand même, puisque notre père, il peut écrire en créole officiellement, nous commençons et puis au Father. Au nom du Père, du Fils et du Saint-Esprit, Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Dieu éternel et tout-puissant, au soir nous approché célébration comme 6e anniversaire indépendance Dominique, comme nation, campus global université antillaise et puis division culturelle pour 11e Lexi mémorial annuel et au LeBlanc, mais nous ici pour réfléchir à ce langage Dominique. Nous pouvons dire remercier pour l'autorisation au Dr. Kimon Joseph, qui nous mettait en charge pour diriger un moment histoire ça et pour choisir Dominicien qui a un bon sens langage Dominique. Monsieur Prosper Paris, qui parlait ainsi Mabika, l'influence monde Kalinagua si langage en Dominique et en Caraïbe là. Même comité pour études et créole, Madame Ophelia Olivache Marie et Raymond Lawrence, Kek, ainsi passé pour eux l'évolution langage créole là Dominique et Monsieur Emmanuel Prince, qui parlait au sujet de Afouaoui, infusion cocoy à sécurité Dominique. Nous remercions honorable Monsieur Cosé Frédéric qui a accepté de participer en discussion ça là, modérateur là, Papa bon Dieu, grand mettre là, nettoyer cerveau et puis Esprit Saint pour y ça contrôler fonction ça là avec justice. Béni yo toutes pour ça va nous meilleure compréhension de ces trois langages ça là et ben nous conviction comme quoi nous qui aimer pays nous si nous qui fait un effort pour apprendre à parler tout langage dominicain pas seulement pendant ces temps ça là mais même après l'indépendance. Béni aussi ces monde là qui organisait l'exi ça là et voyez la grâce à tous ces monde là qui a écouté grâce à différents moyens de communication sociale au papa éternel et culturel par excellence créateur et papa l'amour tout was au soir nous ca souhaiter bienvenue et puis j'ai et respect aux premières femmes président nous au territoire Kalinagola son excellence madame Sylvanie Borton et puis Marie monsieur Gilbert Borton tant pis souple protéger et délivrer yo et puis famille yo hors menace et préserver yo tout pouvoir nous qui a sorti hors monde mauvais sujet et puis actuellement nous commander mettez l'huile onction à cette assemblée ça là ça comme ça quand nous a écouter discussion ces spécialistes différents langages dominique nous que chanter et changer mentalité nous en telle façon que nous que développer plus l'amour pour cultiver nous et pour langage nous en plus de un meilleur sens national et puis respect pour yon et l'autre. Nous commandons au faveur ça là ça par Jésus-Christ notre Seigneur avec maman la Vierge maman et puis pouvoir du Saint-Esprit pour yon seul Dieu pour les siècles des siècles. Amen. I won't do English form.
Thank you very much, Father. You can all have your seats now. I'm wondering about the crackling. I'm hearing a little crackling on the microphone. Is that? I'm hearing a little crackling. Okay, I'm just organizing in terms of the sound. So I hope that you can hear me well. I was hearing a little crackling just a while ago, but I'm trusting that you can hear me better now. Your Excellency, Mrs. Sylvanie Burton, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mr. Burton, Mr. Ulson Matthew, Chief Cultural Officer acting in the Division of Culture and staff of the Division of Culture, Honorable Kozia Frederick, Minister of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment and Constituency Empowerment, and our moderator for tonight, Monsignor Eustace Thomas, priest at the Our Lady of Fairhaven Parish, our panelists, Mr. Prosper Paris, Mr. Raymond Lawrence, Mrs. Ophelia Marie, and Mr. Emmanuel Prince, my staff at UWI Global Campus, audience members both in the auditorium and those joining us live via DBS, Kyrie, and Imo News, other media representatives. Good evening to everyone. Good evening. And welcome, welcome, welcome to the 11th annual LeBlanc Memorial Lecture Series. Tonight we will be having a panel discussion on Dominica's native tongues. So thank you very much for being with us this evening. In addition to chairing, I, Dr. Kimon Joseph, will be your person delivering the welcome remarks, and so I'm going to do that at this time. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you this evening to the 11th annual LeBlanc Memorial Lecture. This lecture series was the brainchild of our then head of site and now principal, Dr. Francis Severe, and the then Chief Cultural Officer, Mr. Raymond Lawrence. The plan was to focus on themes of culture and heritage preservation. There was no debate as to who the series should be named after, Edward Oliver LeBlanc, who throughout his life had been adamant that our cultural heritage should be preserved and enjoyed. Under the current leadership of Mr. Ulson Matthew, we agreed on a change from broad cultural topics to those that are more focused on the theme of History Week each year. Our first presentation of this series was facilitated by Dr. Alwyn Bully of blessed memory, who spoke on the theme, The Gilded Mango, Culture, Livelihoods, and Development in Dominica, 1950 to 2012. In 2013, Dr. Lennox Honeychurch presented on the topic, LeBlanc and the Creation of Nationalist History. In 2014, Justice Dr. Irvin Andre discussed on the theme, LeBlanc, a Rendezvous with History. In 2015, Professor Emerita Hazel Simmons McDonald spoke on the topic, Cultivating Caribbean Identities, Language, Culture, and the Politics of Deprivation. Mr. Vladimir Lucien delivered the lecture in 2016 under the theme, Folk Songs Have No Authors, Creative Force and the Individual Talent in Caribbean Arts and Culture. The 2017 installation of the lecture was canceled because of Hurricane Maria. Dr. Honeychurch gladly accepted our invitation and presented Resilience and Traditional Architecture and Heritage Sites of Dominica in 2018 and 2019, respectively. In 2020, Honorable Alex Boyd Knights of blessed memory presented on the topic Traditional Cuisine. The COVID pandemic threw off our plans for 2021, but we were able to return in 2022, and we organized the segment of the series as a panel discussion for the first time. Our topic was Herbal Traditions, and we had presentations from Renaud Parker Deja, Mrs. Natalie Sister Nats Charles, Dr. Martha Augustus, and Terry Henry. Last year, the focus was on Dominica's national wear, and our panelists were Mr. Raymond Lawrence, Miss Elaine Burton, and Mrs. Delia Coffee Weeks. This year, the topic of History Week is Dominica's native tongues, and we decided to have a panel discussion again. We'll be focusing on 3 main languages in Dominica, Kalinago, Creole, and Kokoy. I grew up listening to Esperance Creole with Felix Henderson on DBS radio in the afternoons while I did my homework. Every weekday at 2 o'clock would be heralded with the conch shell song with the introduction song, Jean Cachakou Levé. In the mid-1990s, I spent one evening each week biting my tongue trying to pronounce Kokoy words with my brother as we listened to Mano Prince and his guests on Afuawi on DBS radio. I can't quite recall if there was a theme song for Mano's program, but if there wasn't one, then the song Camela used to be played a lot. I think it was the theme song, but if it wasn't, that song was played a lot. Like Felix, Mano's style was a mix of conversation, storytelling, and teaching. In more recent years, Mr. Prosper Paris and his friend Gerald Langley have become a staple on DBS radio before the morning news as they bring us the Kalinago word of the day. Again, I bite my tongue there, but I do enjoy learning. I'm in academia, of course, and so I take pleasure in listening to the words and phrases that they share based on their ancestors' linguistic traditions. Just like the way we dress, the food we eat, the music, and the way we build our homes and communities, our language forms part of that unique woven tapestry that creates cultural heritage. Of course, each island in the Caribbean has its intricacies in terms of language, and many islands boast, there was a time when they were not boasting, they were ashamed, but many islands boast now of their own forms of Creole language and patois that were derived from unique blends of cultural influences. Yet, there are traits that make Dominica's languages special. And when we open our mouth, you just know that it's a Dominican that is speaking. This evening, we will hear from 4 experts in cultural heritage. Mr. Prosper Paris, from his topic, Mabrika, the influence of the Kalinagos on language in Dominica and the Caribbean, will highlight several words and phrases that are rooted in Kalinago heritage. Mr. Raymond Lawrence and Mrs. Ophelia Marie of Comité pour Études Creole will present Pa Ase Puyo, the evolution of Dominica's Creole language. There, they will examine the works that have been done in expanding the presence of our Creole language in both written and spoken forms. Finally, Mr. Emmanuel Prince will present on Afuawi, Kokoi's infusion in Dominica's culture, as he explores Kokoi's rich history in Marigot, Wesley, Woodford Hill, and I'm just recently finding out in Clifton too, and how that has expanded to touch other aspects of Dominica's rich cultural heritage. Our panel discussion tonight will be moderated by Honorable Kozia Frederick, the Minister of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment. We are honored that he accepted our invitation to moderate. Thank you, sir. We at the UWI Global Campus wish to thank the Cultural Division, who has been working with us for the past 11 years to ensure that this series is executed as part of the National Independence Calendar each year. Also, UWI remains committed to its relationship that it has established with the Cultural Division. You and your staff have our full support, and we are grateful for the collaborations that we have engaged in both during independence and during emancipation. I always tell you, like you, our staff is young, but we are experienced and we are professional. I have no doubt that we can continue to work well together long into the future. Ms. Nadia Revere, our Alumni Association President, is scheduled to give the vote of thanks later, but I do want to give some special highlights while I have the floor. Madam President Burton and Mr. Burton, it is a delight to have you with us this evening. The patronage of the President of the Commonwealth of Dominica has been welcomed at UWI events, and we are grateful for your support. Last year, when you took office, this was one of the first events that you attended, and we are very pleased that you have continued to be part of our activities. In addition, I'm grateful to my own staff for their continued support in this as well as other activities. I'm grateful for the support of the executive members of the Alumni Association as well as the Guild of Students who are on board for this project. I'm also grateful for the collaborative support from DBS Radio, Kyrie FM, and Imo News who are carrying the event live. Time and time again, our media partners have proven to be good friends to UWI. The support that they have shared is unwavering, and I am grateful to Ivona, Steve, Emmeline, and their teams. We appreciate you very much. On behalf of the University of the West Indies, and in particular the students and staff of the Dominica site, I welcome everyone here this evening, and I anticipate a wonderful experience and a lively discussion afterwards. Thank you. I now invite Mr. Ulson Matthew, who is the Chief Cultural Officer of the Division of Culture, to give collaborative remarks. Mr. Matthew.
Thank you very much, Kimon. Your Excellency, Mrs. Sylvanie Burton, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mr. Gilbert Burton. Dr. Kimon Joseph, Head of the UE Global Campus and staff of the UE Global Campus. Staff of the Cultural Division, Honorable Kozia Frederick, Minister for Environment and Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment, and tonight's moderator. Monsignor Eustace Thomas, priest of Our Lady of Fairhaven Parish. Our panelists, audience members, viewers, listeners, media, everybody present, good evening, and thank you, and welcome once again to the LeBlanc Memorial Lecture, with this year's focus being on the native tongues. And I am intrigued to hear the different takes and perspectives on three of the languages spoken locally: the Kalinago language, Kokoi, and Creole. The historical context, where are they coming from, how they got here, and how they have evolved. I know many people who are unable to speak Creole because it was used to cover up conversations not meant for children. Did we shoot ourselves in the foot there? Met l'école tek a bat zafa, a la kou l'école pou lagash Creole. Did we shoot ourselves in the foot there? And even way before that, languages were discouraged and outright banned to prevent revolutions, and other languages and practices were instilled. But that is another topic for another lecture. Preservation. What has been done, is being done, and could be done to preserve these languages. Very soon you will hear a different version of the national anthem, voiced by Felix Henderson, and I'll give you the story behind that. Dr. Joseph called me and told me that she had a voice clip that she wanted me to clean the audio for. And when I heard the final version, it hit me that it was a piece and a stalwart that had to be immortalized with Jinping music scene that is Creole. And what we will hear is the version of the national anthem sung by Felix Henderson, backed up by the staff of the Cultural Division. And we're not calling it official or anything like that, but just another way of expressing our gratitude for his contribution and, of course, an addition to our cultural assets. Also, I can't wait to explore the importance of preservation as part of the broader cultural preservation narrative and the future. Presence on school curriculums from early ages akin to French and Spanish being offered at the grade K level and working towards normalizing the daily use of these languages. Now, every time I come to UWI, I mention preaching to the choir. Tonight is no exception. You are here because you are believers. But what fraction do you make up? Coming out of this, I hope we can identify all the stakeholders outside of the Cultural Division, KEC, DBS, Creole Heartbeat. Resource people, prospective employment opportunities, all with the preservation of Creole, Kokoi, and the Kalinago languages in mind. My expectations are high, and we anticipate a quality discussion matching that of the activities for the Independence season thus far. The opening parade, the art exhibition, the cultural semifinals, the Hard Creole Fridays, and so on. I want to end by thanking some of the sponsors who have contributed to making this year's 46th anniversary the spectacle that you have been witnessing thus far. Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, House of Lorraine, Fort Young Hotel, the Grand Bay Credit Union, Flu, SGC Essentials All-in-One, Springfield Trading, Miss OECS, and the Signman Limited. It's not too early to start talking about sponsorship for next year, because I dream of a headline sponsor for the Independence season, like what I saw presented by NBD last week. Just putting that out there, it will materialize. So let me just thank everybody again. Thank you, Kimon, Dr. Kimon, sorry, and the UWI Global Campus team, my team at the Cultural Division, and I hope those of you in attendance, viewing and listening, enjoy tonight's offering. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Wilson. It really is our pleasure to continue to work with your team to bring both this LeBlanc Memorial Lecture as well as the Independence lecture series that we have with the Cultural Division. And now it is time for us to really get started in terms of our panel discussion. So our moderator needs to be introduced, and Ms. Kimandra John Baptist, who is the Deputy Chair of the UWI Global Guild of Students Dominica chapter, will come and read that for us. She's acting chair right now because our chair is not available, and so we say good night to Annalyn, who we know is listening, and we wish you a speedy recovery. And I invite our acting chair to read the bio of our moderator. Clap for Kimandra.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Your Excellency, Mrs. Silvani Burton, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mr. Gilbert Burton, Dr. Kimon Joseph, Head of UWI Global Campus and staff of UWI Global Campus, Mr. Urson Matthew, Chief Cultural Officer, Division of Culture, and staff of the Division of Culture, Honorable Kozia Frederick, Minister of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment, and tonight's moderator, Monsignor Eustace Thomas, priest of Our Lady of Fairhaven Parish, our panelists, Mr. Prosper Paris, Mr. Raymond Lawrence, Mrs. Ophelia Marie, and Mr. Emmanuel Prince, audience members in the auditorium, and those joining live via DBS Radio, Carry FM, and MO News, media representatives, good evening to all. The Honorable Corsair Pius Frederick is the Minister of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment, and the Parliamentary Representative for the Salibia constituency. Corsair holds a teaching certificate from the Dominica Teachers Training College. Later, he pursued a Bachelor's of Arts degree honors in history with political science at the UE Cable campus. Corsair commenced his professional career as a teacher at Salibia Primary School and later served as a development officer in the Ministry of Kalinago Affairs. Beyond his legislative duties, he actively contributes to the Dominica Reparations Committee and the Kalinago Events Committee. Corsair is from Salibia, and he and his wife, Gwyneth, have been married for many years. They have 2 children and 1 grandchild. Please welcome our moderator for tonight's proceedings, Honorable Corsair Frederick.
Thank you very, very, very much. Your Excellency, Mrs. Silvani Burton, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mr. Gilbert Burton, Dr. Kimon Joseph, Head UE Global Campus and staff of the UE Global Campus, Mr. Wilson Matthew, Chief Cultural Officer, Division of Culture and staff of the Cultural Division, Monsignor Eustace Thomas, priest, Our Lady of Fairhaven Parish, our panelists, Mr. Prosper Paris Nkutubulu, Mr. Raymond Lawrence, Mrs. Ophelia Marie, Mr. Emmanuel Prince, audience members in the auditorium and those joining us via DBS Radio, Cairo FM, and Imo News, media representatives. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I salute the UE Global Campus and the Division of Culture for this unique collaboration that brings us here this evening. This is a most profound partnership between academia and cultural practitioners and educators. Our event tonight, like the 10 others before, enriches learning and research and also allows community outreach and engagement. Our panelists here tonight build on the work done by the predecessors who have showcased our island as a very, very special space. They have committed many years to understanding and sharing our rich culture. Tonight, you will appreciate that we are all blessed with unique words, expressions, and concepts that foster national pride. This year, our film captures these expressions in more ways than one. It is very clear to me that our Kalinago language, Creole and Kokoi, these tongues are most important to us. This is because they are a key part of our cultural identity and our heritage. As languages, they help convey traditions, values, worldviews that are unique to communities across our island. As you will soon realize, they connect us to our ancestry and enables us to participate fully in our cultural practices. These native tongues also foster a sense of belonging and community and strengthen family ties and allow for unique expressions of thought and emotion that may be challenging to convey in any other language. I am humbled and honored to help guide the conversations this evening. I am happy to see all of you here and know for a fact that you are well aware of the importance of our native tongues. You are joining our panelists in helping to preserve these native tongues. We must preserve them in order to maintain our cultural diversity and knowledge embedded in them. These include traditional ecological wisdom, folklore, and our history. We are not doing this only for ourselves. The evidence is clear that when native tongues die, a significant part of Mother Earth cultural richness and diversity is lost. Friends, I'm very pleased to introduce our panelists this evening. Our first panelist is Prosper Nkutubulu Paris. He's a cultural elder in the Ministry of Environment. He's a language researcher, cultural activist, storyteller, singer, songwriter, and performer from Bataka in the Kalinago territory. Nico Tubulu works as an events coordinator for several activities in the Kalinago territory, including Carnival, Kalinago Week, and Indigenous Peoples Week. Until recently, he was the longest-serving president of the Carifuna Cultural Group, having led that group for more than 20 years. Furthermore, Nico Tubulu has presented several educational lectures and presentations on Kalinago culture, locally, regionally, and internationally. It was during his time as a member of the Kalinago Council that Prosper's passion for research on Kalinago language took root. He labored extensively by seeking out Kalinago elders who knew words and terms, as well as reviewing written works on Kalinago by Breton and others. Together with his friends and colleague, Gerard Langley, he initiated the Kalinago Word of the Day program on DBS Radio. In addition, Nico Tubulu has provided research assistance on several published projects, including Fam Kowai by Natalie Charles and Myths and Legend by Julius Green. He's currently working with Hassan Kitchener on a book project titled Introduction to the Caribbean Language, Erie. Mr. Raymond Lawrence. Raymond Lawrence is a retired Chief Cultural Officer. At present, he is the chair of the National Emblems Committee and the Comité pour Études Creole (CEC). Raymond holds a master's degree in mass communications and culture from the University of North Texas, a bachelor's degree from the University of Steubenville in Ohio, and a certificate in management studies from UE-Mona. Raymond worked with the Dominica's Division of Culture for 36 years. He was also chair of the National Cultural Council and chair of the Independence Committee for many years. He is the artistic director of the longest-serving creative dance group in Dominica, the Waitikoboli Dance Theatre Company, and organizes the Miss Teen Dominica pageant. He was a radio broadcaster for a total of 10 years, first with Dominica Broadcasting Corporation Radio, and then Radio Antilles International in Montserrat. He has been involved in the development of arts and culture for the past 55 years. He's an actor, dancer, choreographer, artist, short story writer, poet, show organizer, and cultural activist. Some of his awards include the Meritorious Service Award in 2004, the Golden Drum Award in 2014, the Lifetime Achievement Award in 2022, and he was inducted into the Caribbean Hall of Fame for Arts and Culture in 2012 in Jamaica. Mrs. Ophelia Marie. Ophelia Marie is affectionately referred to as Dominica's Lady of Song. She is a cultural icon, performer, singer, and songwriter. Ophelia graduated from the University of the West Indies Cable Campus with an undergraduate degree in French, English, and sociology. She also holds a graduate degree in youth development work from the University of Guyana and the Commonwealth Youth Program. Due to a passion for helping people, both young and not so young, Ophelia worked as a youth officer and managed the youth center, as well as served as the social skills instructor of the Youth Skills Training Program. Currently, she is the immediate past president of the Dominica Council on Aging and is a member of the vibrant Senior Citizens Group. When it comes to her music, Ophelia began singing at a tender age and won several local competitions. Her first recording was in 1978, and she has recorded 19 albums since then. She serves as a member of the Comité pour Études Creole, a member of the board of Alliance Française, and a member of the National Emblems Committee. Among her many accolades, she has been awarded the UE Trailblazers Award, the UE Alumni Award for Arts and Culture, the Golden Drum Awards, and the Cicero Award of Honor. She and her husband, McAfee, has been married for 47 years and has 2 children. Mr. Emmanuel Prince, Emmanuel Mansfield Manu Prince, is a retired public servant. He's a vegetable farmer, livestock herder, and artistic instructor from Wesley. Emmanuel served as a primary school teacher for 10 years before he was seconded to the Adult Education Division. He then moved on to work as a graphic designer and then the Senior Health Promotion Officer in the Ministry of Health. It was during that time that Emmanuel got involved in broadcasting, and from 1995 to 2000, he hosted and produced the radio program Afuawi. It's ours. Emmanuel credits the show's success to its efforts at elevating the esteem of the people of the Kokoi catchment area of Marigot, Wesley, Woodford Hill, and Clifton. His love for languages came from his days studying theology at UWI, and he was particularly interested in studying the root words of languages like Hebrew. According to Manu, at their core, our Creole languages like Creole and Kokoi are raw and unmasked, and they provide a full range of emotion. Emmanuel holds several certificates in courses, in workshops, and seminars on health communications and graphic arts. His vision for Kokoi is similar to his desires for Creole languages throughout the Caribbean, that our language will be recognized and appreciated more. I take this opportunity to welcome Nico Tubulu, Mr. Prosper Paris, to the podium as he expresses Mabrika, the influence of the Kalinagos on the language in Dominica and the Caribbean. Nico Tubulu will have 15 minutes. The rules are simple, Nico Tubulu. I will point you 5 minutes, and after 1 minute, and then...
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Protocol has been established, so I will go right into it. And this topic we're discussing here is the influence of language in Dominica and the Caribbean and the Tubulu. Now, language, as we know it, is the principal method of communication, or human communication, using words structured in what we call a way that is accepted by all. They call it conventional, big word, conventional. They're accepted in writing, of speech, or gesture. We can say that the Kalinagos has contributed significantly towards an influence, not only language, but lifestyle and the historical journey of the whole Caribbean island, as we call it, West Indies. So where we came from, we journeyed from, and we established ourselves, or we populated the different islands of the Caribbean. The names already has been there. There was a civilization there. People live in houses. They know what they call muina. They know their cabin. They know how to communicate each other. They had a system of conversation. They had a language. Actually, the Caribbean itself have multi-linguistic people that spoke different languages and expression throughout the whole region. So Mabrika. And I did say to those quiet people here with the time where you say, Messe quick! All right, you're alive. So Mabrika is our main topic for today. It's a means of greetings. Some people say Mapwika. From years and years, language itself has its own evolution. Language has changed. We have the different expression of tongue. Those of you who have children at home and give them the tablets, you realize that they're talking American right in your footsteps. All right? So just to see that as the language itself, the tone evolves, the type of expression kind of differ from tribe or people to people according to where they're from. If they have long mouth, if without teeth, if they sucking tongue, they will type of articulate differently in that word. So we have the Caribbean region, what you call West Indies, more, with different cultures, different cultures and different people. Can put it back to the same slide, you see. And it's there that, you know, it's a first contact. Remember, we come from an area, Asia, passing for the Americas, so Bering Strait, coming for the Americas, they spend most time in Orinoco, where we learn the word Kanawa, we learn the word manioc, we learn our word for titi. All this word was already learned by us. So grab this, and we're coming up with plants, maize, we're coming up with that. So when we had the encounter, we already had system of doing barbecue. Is that old thing? You think like barbecue is a thing you had? Is it something new? We had that already. We had that. We influenced. That influence, we had that already. We had a word for cacique, which is mostly used by our brothers, but that was also used by the Kalinagos. We had papaya, fruits. See, papaya, you hold it in your hand. It's a Kalinago thing. Tobacco, what we call tabac. Or canoe, main means of transportation, of moving from the other. We have different form of canoe, kanawa, canot, pirogue. All these are mostly words that is now mostly used by the French, but I'll give you a little bit later on that. Then we had cassava, we had our guava, we had our hammock, we knew what hurricane was like, so that was our life there. And I heard, also just make up the point here, that we had that met l'école take a bad enfants là pour l'école pour l'apprendre créole. But the Kalinagos were killed, they were chased. We shed blood for language because our lifestyle, as I said, our gesture, our language prompted change in European mindset. While we couldn't talk with them, but the body language would tell them that we will not be slaves. They got angry for us, so they had to be gone away. So the language of body, when you have children at home, you see, you don't have to talk to them. You say, you're playing rude, I can see your face. So you see that, so you spank them. So the European kill us. But we had time during our journey throughout come up to establish our names. All the islands of the Caribbean had already either Kalinago names, Taino names, Arawak, but we had our names, and they meant something to us. You know, we had the Karokera, we had our Dominica, the Aiche, they had the white Kubuli. Some people say white Tikubuli. If you change it to white T, then you make him a man. He's supposed to be a woman. So that's why white too. So again, you say, even in the Dominic context, our change of speaking is a white T. White T is man. But we want tall is a body, and the ladies here must be proud that Dominica is really, future yourself. You big, you're huge, you go. So you become a strong point. For the matter of fact, we had this word in Kalinago long before the Europeans came, things like tata. Anybody know the tata? Your mother, your papa, your poto. The people who say how poto is used in language at that time was that, you have a poto l'église. It's a strong person there. A poto lebo. You find that in politics. You have poto in that one there. It is different from a pole for a structure, but it means that you were very strong and play a central part in those things. So we had all the islands. So we also had developed our own recipes. We had things like kalalu, tumali, kanki. Our communication traveled by canoe, the canoe, the kanawa, the housing shelter. We had Mina, Ajupa, Kabi, Chukotabi. That was language that Europeans, they had to use. They had to use it because they had nothing. The other thing that we ignore and say that it's non-significant in our languages, can you imagine like you first people meet for the first time, the language or the different, what would you use? Gesture. The which is from a very rooted part in our everyday language, whether you're African or what now. Imagine that you have a scenario in St. Vincent where you have how many Negro slaves capsized a boat coming in the slave trade and coming ashore in St. Vincent, and a child seeing that, what he would run and tell mama? He described something in the sea. They have long head, they have long hairs, and they're naked, and it's a set of word, a gesture. But we had to use that. Gesture play a very important role in language. So the body language we have, as I said from the beginning, established that language is not only spoken or written, it's a gesture, a movement of body that give it meaning and give it taste and flavor. Because if you just dance a dance and it just goes through and somebody would give it a kawe. You know, it's a language, it is a movement that enforces unspoken language that is given for gesture. So the Caribbean was not only discovered, the New World by Columbus, although first we did long-term European interests. And that was very saddened to see that we had a language, we had a people who spoke. But when the Europeans came, within 4 decades, the whole Caribbean was being, circumnavigated. So they take a boat to go around there. Imagine Columbus coming on the island, looking from miles away. He saw Dominica, this island of Waitukuli, and say, well, it's looking. But today Sunday, let's call it Dominica. Imagine somebody come at your home and just see your children in your yard and say, let me call him Boise. Would you be happy with that? You know? Or just come, your dog have a nice name and you just call it, oh, he's Rover. You know, impose of values and their culture, their civilization on us. And when we fight back, because language cannot be looked as if, an isolated, especially in Kalinago context. That our language we resisted. It met with resistance from the Europeans who came. So this is something that we can go much deeper into, but I have to look at my yellow card here. All right. So the Kalinago being first people among the region already had names. And some of them are the same in use today. You have IT, we are not many we have. Waitukubuli we named for a certain time. We have some people that Bekwe and Borneo, these places there we name, but we don't take it for granted that it's Kalinago. And it took a long time for that. So the Kalinagos did have that, and we, of course, that is what we have today. Men have changed depending on what was the type of colonies that came. So you have the Dutch in St. Croix, you had the French, the English, and all kind of nations coming, and we established that is almost what we have today. So our language in terms of names of places was washing out slowly. All right, we have to move on. The influence of Kalinago language in Dominica is much more evident for the historical. We say that language changes with times. Because what happened, the number of speakers we had on the island was dying out. St. Vincent, that was a bigger population of by 1779, about 5,000 Kalinagos was taken on a ship on the coast of Honduras. You know how many tongues that went with it? And how many words we lost? That is that. So while we were building a pot, and the emancipation of slave before that has to come in and build a Creole, or was losing, but they couldn't because we were still here. That called resilience, that we had our names on the islands and different type of things. So we still have Hokuli Bistri, we have Bawi, we still have Leyu, we still have Sibuli, and most of the island there, you can take a look at our whole map, and Dominica is very rich in Kalinago places which are named. So at the time that the Europeans was throughout the Lesser Antilles, we had all of the island talking island Kalinago, except Trinidad, because we came from Orinoco, we passed through. So all of the islands we spoke. And go to the next slide. So that is what we have now, and we still can see some of the names that was changed, some of them because there's a few of them that is still there. Because any man who does come, a fellow from Matnik come and because of land, his name is born here, we just name the place after him. And that is it. Nobody asks a question, they don't care. The Kalinago's name was already. But they don't care because he's a big man, he just saying this, that's he give it a name. So we lost that flavor. So we end up with the Creole Canary, the Kalinago word mixed up with English, with French, and we call that the Creole pot. So in Dominica now we have most of the thing has Creole in it, Creole. So the Canary, we have the places, the name of villages. We still do our special food. We say woti, like a roast is a fire. We say watu, which is a close resemblance in Kalinago. So we cannot run away from it that, our language, though it is not spoken, but it is kind of formed that integrated part of the Creole that we're speaking now, that we all enjoy and say, well, it is so beautiful that we can even have a Creole dress as a color from Africa. So we have to be able to be wearing our Kalinago chain too to show we have Kalinago flavor. So we have different fruits that are named in Dominica. We have the papaya, we have the shapoti, we have the ananas, the papaya, we have balata kurukum. Next slide, please. Then we have other household tools like matutu. We have ropes, kalabuli, karata, kabuya. We have canary still. We still use our kui. We still use our kuku. The Kayambuk people don't know it yet, but it's a part of kitchen utensil. And then many of our birds, or gilgly, or fishes like teta, or crabs like zagaya, civic, tululu, labi. All this is Kalinago words that is used in our Creole language. And then we have other trees like akaju, barata, mapu, kako, kashibu. All these are Kalinago words which on the island which we can use. And then we have Creole expression that is similar. Creole expression that is similar. Kasa batu yakan. Kasa batu yakan. Kisa ukafe. That is to show you how we use the sa and the ki and the ka in Creole, which is rooted in Kalinago language. And we also have, Makanoa, Maho, Mwenka, Viva Maho. I live in Maho. But we use Maho because Maho is a place in Dominica. And then we have Batina. But just to conclude, to what we do to honor the resilience of Kalinago language, how we can honor that in a space like this, we and other things. I think it's time seriously we take note and say that we should rename and rename officially our name of Dominica, Waitu Kubuli. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nico Tugulu. That's my Kalinago brother right there. We do have a Creole piece, and this presentation will be shared by Ophelia and Raymond. Maybe 7.5, or 8, 7, or 10, 5. Yes.
No problem.
So really, they're going to share on the evolution of the Creole language, and you will clearly see that that it's an offshoot from the earlier presentation that Prosper started off. You want to start off first? Ladies first?
Can we give him a round of applause?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. And let me recognize Your Excellency, the President of Dominica, Mr. Silvani Burton, and Mr. Burton, Dr. Kimon Joseph, Wilson Matthew, Acting Chief Cultural Officer and Staff of Culture, the moderator, of course, Honorable Kozia Frederick, Monsignor Eustace Thomas, and of course everyone present here this evening, and the media included. I want to thank UE Global Campus and the Cultural Division for inviting KEC, because Ophelia and I are representing the Comité Poétique Creole this evening at this panel discussion, and there are members of KEC here as well, so I also wish to recognize the members of KEC as well. nous avons remercier bon Dieu pour culture nous. Et puis héritage nous. We give God thanks and praise because He's the one who has been in control and still is in control of us all. So Dominica has a rich linguistic heritage, and so we have a duty and responsibility to continue to promote and preserve our national indigenous languages, Creole, Khoikhoi, Kalinago, the three languages we're focusing on tonight. Let us remember that culture and language lie at the heart of identity and national consciousness, and that language forms an integral part of the roots of the Creole expressions in Dominica. More specifically, Creole, also referred to as French Creole, is one of the national languages in Dominica and several other countries in the Caribbean, including St. Lucia, Martinique, Guadeloupe, Haiti, Cayenne. It's spoken by over 10 million persons worldwide. Dominica's Creole language was created by the enslaved Africans using the French language as a base and including aspects of the African languages which they brought with them from Africa, and included Kalinago words, as you heard from Prosper, and English borrowings as well. In his book, Our Island Culture, our distinguished historian, Dr. Lennox Honeychurch, said that the Dominican Creole people are still some of the greatest users of island Kalinago words because of the late arrival of Europeans here. And I wanted to give a number of examples, but I think Prosper has handled that brilliantly and given you all the various influences and the words of the Kalinago people. So examples of some African words which are included in the Creole language are Accra, that we speak about, Beke, Ni, Ani, Dada, to describe a nurse or elder female who takes care of a child, Sukuya, and Soso, meaning only, barely, or poorly. So these are just a few examples of African words included in the language. The enslaved Africans also included certain markers in the language. For example, the word ka, used in sentences like Mweka ale and Mweka maje. I wish to point out that when we try to encourage the use of Creole, we're not trying to suppress or devalue other languages like French and Spanish, because these are important languages as well. What we are in fact trying to do in Dominica is to include the teaching and promotion of Creole, because we are saying that these are our indigenous languages, and that in the same way we can give space to French and Spanish in the teaching of languages in schools, and in some cases Chinese, we should also give recognition and space to our own indigenous languages. So by the end of the 18th century, Creole was widely spoken by the majority of Dominicans. Up until the 1950s, Creole was mainly a spoken medium. It was used mainly in everyday conversation. It was not the language of education, justice, and government systems. That was English. Generally, Dominicans created special Creole songs for various occasions, such as work, masquerade, wakes, and also for feast days and other social gatherings and events. Creole songs composed for masquerade were called Chate Mas, and together with the Lapo Cabwit, let me tell you, would make the streets really come alive at masquerade time. Dominicans traveling to Guadeloupe and Martinique have always found the Creole language very useful and convenient in communicating with the people in Guadeloupe and Martinique. In fact, one cannot deny that the Creole language has facilitated communication between our countries in conducting business, in cultural exchange, in visits to family members and friends, and just in socializing and navigating our way in our neighboring countries. Not forgetting St. Lucia, where a lot of Creole is spoken. So when we visit St. Lucia, we feel closely connected because they too speak Creole and English just like us. In the 1950s into the 1960s, Mabel Sissi Corderon was at the forefront of promoting the Creole language, especially through her Creole folk songs. She was also a very passionate promoter of our Creole wear and our folk dances. She formed the Kyrie Artistic Troupe, which performed many Creole songs, some of which Mrs. Corderon composed herself. The group also promoted Dominica's Creole wear and the folk dances. In those days, many Dominicans frowned upon the use of the Creole language and felt that it was not a proper language and that Dominicans should be encouraged to speak proper English instead. Many parents, even if they could speak the Creole themselves, would discourage their children from speaking the language, and I think we all know that. So there were efforts to suppress the language in more ways than one. So in that period, Ma Corderon, she received a lot of pushback and criticism from members of the society, but it appeared that Ma Corderon remained undaunted in her promotion of the Creole language, the Creole wear, and the traditional dances. So long before the term resilient became commonplace in our society, there was already a tremendous amount of resilience in Dominica, especially with the Kalinago, the Maroons, and cultural stalwarts like Mrs. Corderon. Around that same time, in the 1960s, Edward Oliver LeBlanc became Dominica's chief minister in 1961. Later on, he became the first premier in 1967. LeBlanc loved Dominican culture and heritage, and he loved the Creole language in particular. In fact, he had written several poems in Creole. He came up with the idea of introducing the National Day competitions, which he thought would help promote and preserve all of Dominica's traditional expressions, including the Creole songs, the oral traditions like contes, and folk dances and music. So in 1965, the National Day competitions were introduced. These competitions provided a wonderful opportunity for the promotion of the Creole songs and music and the oral traditions of Dominica and our Creole culture as a whole. The competitions provided greater recognition of our Creole expressions. In fact, I want to say that these National Day celebrations, which evolved into the independence celebrations, acted as tremendously important vehicles in carrying, sustaining, promoting, and preserving, especially our traditional culture. And these competitions and celebrations served as a very important catalyst to inspire and encourage all the various modern genres of music and cultural expressions which have emerged and which have been strengthened in Dominica through the years. And in the late 1960s and early 70s, you had Jean Lawrence Mathurin, who began composing and performing and recording Creole songs, together with her group, the Siffla Motin Chorale, which she had founded and which she led. The music of the Siffla Motin Chorale has endured now for over 50 years and is still enjoyed by Dominicans all over the world. In the early 1970s, there was also another choral group which emerged, the La Jeune Étoile Chorale from Grand Bay, which also recorded traditional Creole songs, especially from the Grand Bay experience. And the songs were all in Creole, and in that way helped to promote and preserve the Creole language. In 1971, Radio Dominica had just come on stream, and the manager at the time, Jeff Charles, used the opportunity to really promote the Creole music of groups like the Kyrie Artistic Troupe, the Siffla Motin Chorale, and the La Jeune Étoile Chorale. And while these songs and Creole language promotion were not in the schools at the time, but they were playing a great role in public awareness and appreciation of the Creole language. So Radio Dominica, which then evolved into DBS Radio, began introducing Creole language programs like Nous-Mêmes and SPOS Creole, and they also introduced Creole News as part of the station's broadcast programming. In the 1970s, our popular cadence music was created, and that type of music also began promoting the Creole language through the music expressions of bands like Exile One, Gramax, Midnight Groovers, Bells Combo, among others, and individual artists like Janet Azuz and Ophelia. Later on in the 1980s, WCK created bouillon music, which was inspired and influenced by Jingping music, Lapo Cabwit, Bella rhythms, etc. And of course, bands like First Serenade, Triple K Signal Band, individuals like Asa Banton also created, performed, and promoted the bouillon music. In 1981, Alwyn Woody was Chief Cultural Officer at the time. The Comité pour Études Créole, CEC, was created, and Heritage Day and Creole Day were introduced into the independence celebrations. Creole Day and Heritage Day have now blossomed into two of the most major events during our independence celebrations. And following the introduction of Creole Day in 1981, this initiative by Dominica influenced the introduction of the International Creole Day in 1983. And that International Creole Day has now become a very important day of observation in Creole communities and countries in the world. A Creole dictionary was researched, compiled, and published through the hard work of CEC members like the late Marcel Jamala Fontaine, the late Felix Henderson, Sonia Agpa, Gregory Abbess, the late Sonia Lloyd, the late Anita James, Jeno Jacob, and Arlington James. That first dictionary was launched in 1991. Later on, Jamala, using a lot of content of the first dictionary, also produced another Creole dictionary. So CEC has researched, compiled, and published other books, including Powell Kadi, which is a book containing over 500 Dominican proverbs, Tim Tim Glodubut, with about 366 Creole riddles, and Mi Bredex, which is a compilation of hundreds of various Creole expressions of Dominica. And individuals like Marcel Jamala, Felix Henderson, Delia Coffey Weeks also published their own individual booklets. The Cultural Envision introduced a Creole poetry competition 40 years ago in the Independence Literary Competitions, and the Creole Song Competition during the Independence celebrations continues. And of course, there have been recordings of many Dominican folk songs which are sung in Creole. Sonia Lloyd as well stands out as an individual singer and composer who composed several hit songs in Creole. One of her most well-known songs is none other than Kite Coltela Vive. The promotion of our Creole language and culture influenced the creation of the World Creole Music Festival, which has catapulted Creole onto the world stage in music. The festival, which is a major success story, attracts patrons from neighboring countries, especially Guadeloupe and Martinique, and patrons from outside of the region as well, and encourages many Dominicans in the diaspora to return home every year. 14 years ago, CEC, with the assistance of the Cultural Division and collaboration of Ministry of Education, introduced the annual Creole Spelling Bee competition for primary schools, a very successful program which has encouraged school children in Dominica, especially the younger ones, to study the spellings, meanings, and pronunciations of many Dominican Creole words. In 2019, CEC, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, launched a pilot project for the teaching of Creole in primary schools. In fact, the program started at 19 primary schools. Unfortunately, it was affected by COVID, and only a few schools now have continued with the program. However, CEC is in discussions with the Ministry of Education to have this program revived and expanded to all primary schools in Dominica, and eventually to all secondary schools as well, because we feel that the teaching of Creole in schools will play a very significant and vital role in strengthening the speaking and the use of Creole in Dominica. The UE Global Campus has also embarked on a program of teaching Creole to adults in 6-week programs taught by Sonia Agpa and Delia Weeks. Last year, CEC launched a new publication called Anu Apwan Creole, which is a learning and teaching tool for the speaking and writing of Creole. The book is already in great demand. When we get hard copies printed, we place them at Jay's, and the book is now available online on Amazon For persons who wish to purchase a book on Amazon, you can go to Amazon and type www.amazon.com, and then you begin to type the name of the book. So you start with Anu, A-N-N-O-U, space, and the first 3 letters of the next word, Apwan, A-P-W, and then the book will appear, and you can click on it and just follow the directions to purchase it. We've established a KEC website where you can get information on KEC's activities. We're now working on a new Creole language dictionary as well. And on the occasion of KEC's 40th anniversary in 2021, KEC took a decision to develop a national Creole language policy. So a subcommittee was established which led to the formulation of a draft policy document. We think that a Creole language policy is important because it helps to define and clarify our vision and our goals for the further development and preservation of the language. I'm sure most of you here have heard the More Creole program on DBS Experience Creole. So that's a program of KEC which was introduced 2 years ago. And we also just launched a radio program this week, Tuesday, on Q95. The program is called Mouvement Creole. So the program will be aired every Tuesday evening now, hosted by Wadix from 6 in the evening. So ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I think we can say that we have made great strides in Creole language development in Dominica, and the work of KEC has had not just local, but regional and international impact. We now have to look at how we can build on these foundations set by all those involved and all the progress which we have made so far. There are many advantages to the continued promotion of the Creole language, such as giving a lot of meaning and depth to our expressions, like in our day-to-day conversations in Creole, and in our songs, our music. Ophelia is still producing beautiful Creole music, midnight groovers, I mean, you name it. Our dances like Bel-Air, when they do the Bel-Air, you hear those Chatwell belting out those kind of Creole powerful songs. Our conte, our other oral traditions. The language is helping us communicate still with Creole-speaking neighbors, Guadeloupe, Martinique, with the Haitians who are now here in Dominica. But maybe most importantly, our languages are uniting us as a people. Our Creole, our Kokoy, our Kalinago, they help to bind us together as a people. And that's one of the strong points of helping to maintain and promote and preserve this beautiful language of ours. So based on the richness, the impact, and the vital importance of the language in our culture, our identity, our heritage, and our present-day living, we should make every effort to keep our Creole language alive and vibrant for generations to come. Thank you very much. Mr. Moderator, I suspect I may have gone over time, but...
Monsieur Shai, Monsieur Peel, Monsieur Lowe. It's my honor to welcome to the podium Our Lady of Song, Mrs. Ophelia Murray, to continue that wonderful conversation on Creole, on the Creole language.
Wow.
Moi, t'es qu'à essayer pas dire rien. Parce que mon cher Raymond Bano a bagay nou ka qui est comprehensive. Madam President, comment nous ka dit ça en créole? Madame Présidente là, nous comptons ou là, et puis mon cher Burton. Et puis, mon cas dit bonjour à toutes ces les autres qui là, puis c'est friend moi, c'est famille moi, c'est moun moi. Who didn't understand me? Let me see your hands up. Oh, you lying, oh, you lying. Okay, and I'm going to be naughty in the sense that I will talk a little Creole. I want you to talk all you know. But Mr. Lawrence is saying that it's fine. Okay, mais money pour dire ça. Et puis tout ça, mouche Raymond dit, ça moins te supposé faire, c'est 10 ans au la montée que aimait Creole la aller. Who didn't understand? Oh, you lie. Ok, comme ça, moi que réduit ça, mon cadia, moi que en bazo c'est perspective là qui nous ka devant nous. Ok, comme ça, moi aimé faire qui zoka kopon moins. Moni a wave comme Martin Luther King. Magali dit moins. C'est pour nous chercher signe pour ces chiméens, et bien pour ces bâtiments là, ces buildings là. So if we have signs and they are in English and in Creole, we will understand the Creole better. You agree? Magali dit moi tout. Activité qui écrit à dans livre qu'on word search et ben jigsaw puzzle. Si nous ba moun sa en créole, est-ce que comprendre meilleur comment pour épeler et ben spell ces mots là? Okay, just using word search and what have you in English. But putting it into the Creole so that we'll understand how to spell it. What do you think? It will work? Okay. A force moi maison. Monsieur Lawrence dit nous aller à internet et puis nous ça acheter livre. Mais nous ça mettre Creole là à internet là tout. Nous ça mettre dans TikTok. En qui ça encore? Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, tout bitin qui nous a appris les jours ça, nous a dit en English. C'est français qui dit internet oui. Et puis yo a dit Facebook, yo a dit Facebook. Et comme ça nous ça apprend toutes ces bitins ça assis ligne online. Ces chants-là, nous avons chanté. Là, nous allons bon, en place en bas, si on dit que vous voyez un advertisement, ben moi. Mais si nous mettons, ça y est karaoke en créole, nous pouvons comprendre et nous pouvons chanter, nous ça fait, même fait yon assis, nous c'est causier. Non, c'est païos, oui. Nous sommes en bas contre païos, parler nous au souhait là, et puis nous allons chanter. Ok? Et puis, toutes ces chantées, Monsignor Thomas fait là, nous passons mettre ça dans karaoke et puis chanter. Zoka dit, of course. Mais oui, nous ça fait. Nous sommes classe en l'école, nous jani, comme M. Raymond dit, à nous continuer à faire, comme M. Cosier là, nous demandons d'aller en cabinet pour demander ces gens là pour vivre mettre là dans toutes ces écoles là, parce que tout le monde, tout le maman est supposé parler créole là, si c'est ici, il y a qu'à vivre. Ça pas jamais tant monde blanc qui est yo pisco vini Dominique et puis parler créole yo ka parler mais qui moins qui ka chanter pour 40 années comme ça veut dire tout le monde les yo de wo aini en chinois ou ka dit yo moins aimer on tout ça veut dire nous accompagnons l'autre. Tout dominicain supposé parler créole. Mon web ça là. Et puis Magali dit moi il ça fait. Moi t'ai bien aimé ouais et puis tan créole qu'a parlé à da caille parlement là. Et nous pas obligés de traduire, nous pas obligés de translate comme nous a dit en anglais. Puis zoka écouter moi, zoka garder moi comme si zoka comprendre moi. D'être ce langage là et ben mouvement là et quand ma brigade nous a body language là ça qu'a parlé comme ça en nous essayer mouche causier en dans ces banques là nous supposons ni créole les mon vini et puis mon mandé montre mon compte ça là pour mon ça ouais si tout l'argent moins là c'est pas pour aller acheter un autre monde pour parler bas moins parce que moi ka parler créole. No, I think in the banks everybody should be talking Creole. Yes. And if you don't know how to talk Creole in the banks, please call Kek or call Yui or call Alliance Française or call the other people that are teaching Creole. Puis nous toutes, nous supposons connaître Creole là. On l'audience, when you go to court and those people who prefer to talk the Creole are being insisted upon the English. Forget the language, forgive the language. You're in trouble. Give them a chance to live and to express themselves to the best of their ability. All documents should be at least in English and Creole. At least. And you know, you go to Miami and you get Creole on the headlines. You can see on which road you are in Creole. So why we can't have it here? You know Creole. Creole is part of our identity. Creole invites us and links us to our ancestors. When we speak Creole, we have more style, more fashion, more vibes coming from our inside. That's why you let Mr. Lawrence talk, you know. Because he was coming to you in the best language that you've heard. He wasn't talking Creole. He was talking about Creole, but you got it. Et puis, mon chance vini parler ça mon vle là. So if we can get more of the support from all of the stakeholders that exist, it will be to our benefit. We ourselves will be happier. Nous tous qui plus contents, puis nous ni timoso culture. Some say culte. I know the word is QT, but that is me. If you say culte, nous ke kopon. Si vous dites guilty, nous ke kopon. Où est ça créole la café? All inclusive yo ka kiye ça. Tout ça qui vini bon. Mais si c'est pour nous ni côté correct là, de sorte que nous caille plus positive et plus vite. Parce que nous ni pide, nous ni pride, nous ni l'amour pour langage là, comme ça nous ka tchembe. Mon kawe moun ka parti, c'est bon d'être supposé arrêter. Mais comme mon commande chaque yon disons souple. Tout ça ça fait pour préserver langage là souple fait. Ini ces jeunes moun là yo ka di Mommy, I going down there, my friend Pose waiting on me. Pose pa Creole. Ebe chembe epi gwandi asoy. Miss Sonia ki ba mon sala. Epi ini dot manière yo ka servi Creole la. Kon sa chembe epi fey mouté. Epi yo, ba yo. Nous besoin ces jeunesse là. Ces chansons-là, yo ka jouer les jours ça, ni certains mots nous pas aimer. Eh bien, yo ka ba l'histoire, yo ka décrit ko yo ka dit bagay ou have l'écouter, bagay qui supposé rester en chamou. en bas kaba nous-mêmes. Moutoué yo créole là. Souple, c'est à nous partager, à nous vivre, à nous pas quitter mort. Parce que, comme on a dit encore, une fois, créole là, c'est ça nous, c'est pour nous protéger, mettre du bout, d'essayer, oui, connaître vallée, aimer, et puis servir pour promotionner qu'on nous. Merci un peu.
Thank you very much, Lady of Song. Thank you very much. So we can see the connection from Kalinago, the Creole language was developed over time. And it's clear that it is all 18th century marriage of African language, Kalinago language, and also European languages. At this time, we'd like to invite Mr. Emmanuel Mano, a good friend of mine, to look at Koko's infusion into Dominica's culture. So Mano, the podium is all yours.
The Kokoi language in Dominica, Afuawi, it is ours. It is our own. It belongs to us. I can underline that with all the other presenters that are here in relation to Creole languages. Yes, Creole languages is the soul of the people. And you heard Reverend Eustace Thomas prayed in Creole, and you could feel the soul of it. Oh God, look at what the young man do. Papa bon Dieu. You feel those things. Yes. Your Excellency, Ma Silvani Button and Mr. Button. Reverend Eustace Thomas, ladies and gentlemen of distinction, from the security officer through to Dr. Kimon Joseph and her illustrious team at the UE Global Campus, Dominica, this wonderful audience present and the audience in cyberspace, who will in a great way enhance this evening's atmosphere. Our distinguished deliverables, Honorable Cozier Frederick, our moderator, my colleagues, Mr. Raymond Lawrence, la grande dame de chanson, Mistress Ophelia Marie, and my Kalinago cousin, Mr. Paris Prosper. Now, some years ago, I met one of the representatives of there. I said, you know, I'm Kalinago. He said, get beside yourself, fella. Use Kalinago. Well, everyone of the Pharisees and them up there, and quite a bit of the princes too, are my cousins. So I'm very proud. I get a problem when I have to eat certain foods because I get a mixture of taste. So, all are we a family? Once we can understand that, then our song will work well. You agree?
Yes.
All right, good night to all and thanks. Tonight we are going to take a brief look at the role of Kokoi in the Dominican cultural landscape. I would like to settle the matter right up front. All that was delivered this evening is the background. Okay?
Yes.
And I'm not taking any shortcut, you know. But it's just that Cocoa itself was contained within a particular geographical space in Dominica. And it was heavily, you know, demeaned. And among the people themselves, as was said, the same thing with the Creole language. You are not allowed to speak it. Boy, shut your mouth there. Boy, hush your mouth. You're not supposed to speak that language. That the word that is broken English. Now I'm waiting to see broken English up to now. But we were discouraged very heavily. However, the people within their own community in Wesley, Marigot, Woodford Hill, known as Simit, and to quite a lesser extent, Clifton, they had that thing going on between themselves. And it was the same story. Elderly people would hold their conversation in Kokoi, and the children were discouraged to listen. But now and then you would eavesdrop and pick up one or two words. Okay? So, now this statement about tonight we are going to take a brief look at, you know, against the cultural landscape. This statement does not only imply the spoken language itself, but also the physical, cultural expressions of the individual as circumstances permit. Both Kokoi and its sister Creole historically developed the same way. They had a similar genesis. They are both Creole languages, they are both pidgin languages in origin, and both are grammatically simplified forms of a language influenced by African, English, and French. Kalinago, on the other hand, is an original language. Give them a hand. Them white man, they come in a Dominica and they meet the people and them in a Dominica with their language. And you hear what Paris tell you tonight. They kill them for their language. And today they may wrestle forget the language they go. You understand? So, the majority of our pidgin languages in the Caribbean was developed in the motherland Africa. That's where it started. The African man wasn't a foolish man, you know. He listened well, Dutch, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and he devised a way. And he grabbed from them, and he put in his, and they, up to now, in Nigeria, they have an English called Pidgin English. And if you look at many of the shorts on YouTube, you will see them featuring that. You have to listen very carefully because it is heavily fabricated with African words, more than us now, where it has been, you know, adulterated as time went on. So, several of these presentations are put in English. And pidgin in Africa is a little bit more, as I was saying, compact than Kokoi, Jamaican patois, or what is spoken in Montserrat, Anguilla, you know, Antigua, and Barbuda, St. Kitts, Nevis, and even St. Vincent. So you see, a language cannot exist out of the context of reality. I have a little joke to give. So when you go to a charismatic session, or you go to a Pentecostal session and you hear all them languages flying here and there, and it ain't got no interpreter to tell you what they're saying, is it a language? It's not relating. It has to have an interpreter. Somebody has to say, or one or two persons usually you have to say, this is what they're saying, and the other one says, I confirm that this is what they're saying. Then you can say, this is a language, because you know there are all kind of things flying out. Okay? So, now that's a religious thing, very touchy thing, very sensitive. So Kokoi itself as a language has, to quite an extent, been contained in its particular geographical, as in Dominica, locations such as Marigot, Wesley, Woodford Hill, and even Clifton. However, the way of life for the Kokoi speaking man and woman differs very little from that of the Creole speaking population. We eat the same food. However, it's okay, the pempin, we will say pempe. You know? You will say cassava, we will say kisada. You see? But the way of life is generally the same. So I am going to attempt to address some of the roles that Kokoi played or is playing in the Dominican cultural landscape. Let me give you an example. And if you all have taken notes, you can take that one, because when I speak it out well, Dr. Kimon and them are recording it, so you can ask for a copy. It's a recipe. Well, I'll know so festival day in the air. From now till Ash Wednesday. Let me warn you. You don't have to believe that, you know. But just mark on. Festival starts. Budum budum right until Ash Wednesday. When you tell Papa God, me so sorry, me commit all them kind of sin. But Johnny want a beef broth. That's a recipe, eh? Real stuff, me tell you, you know. Johnny want a beef broth. Now, beef broth, our special summer, we are in our Wesley. Christmas time, when money kill cattle. No pig, you can make a beef broth with pig meat. It must be a cattle. Yeah. But how you going to make that now? Well, first of all, the cow have to dead. Excuse me. They have to kill the cow. All right? Then you go boil. No, then you go boil your liquor. 1 pound, 2 pound, 3 pound. Well, nowadays I usually 1.5 pound. Although, depending how the man chop up the meat. All right. When you reach home, are you take note? Wash that. Then lame them up. You know how we are lame? Lame them up. Some black pepper, little clove, 3 seasoning pepper, and enough onion and garlic. And just enough salt. Because in doctors say, over salt or too much salt, anytime you over salt, you go come like a salop. Off the record. Then you bring your water to a boil, throw in your little fig, swamp dasheen, 1 or 2 plantain, and of course, not forget your kokoi. Well, nowadays, money like Irish. So dash in 1 or 2 Irish potato, some carrot. Me think that all. Eh? Raymond, that all? You put in a little cabbage, a little celery, and let me tell you something. Leave that half boil, let that half boil, then someday, before you dash in the meat. Now, throw your slab of beef. We don't eat steak down here. We eat slabs of beef. So throw in your slab of beef, pan tap all that. No below, no in the middle, pan tap Pan tap okay? Pan tap. Let that boil for 45 minutes, pan halfway fire. Now, if a cold pot or fire side, you have, then full throttle. Full throttle, because cold pot no have no. All right? Full speed ahead for 45 minutes. That our beef broth. You write them down? Yeah. You can put that on our flash drive. Me no come here for play, you know. Me a barefoot man. Now, from 1995, some of the impact the language had. From 1995 to 2000, after we come on radio, DBS. So me now we made me business. We get a phone call from Benjamin Shillingford. You know Benjamin Shillingford? Some of you know him. Mano, boy, Showman Green run talk to me there and she tell me something there, but I don't think I can handle it. No, it's too green. I say, why is it Benji? He said, well, he want me to do she's proposing that I do a cocoa program with them. But I can't handle that. The best man I can pass it to is you. I said, okay. He said, she will call you. So a couple of days after I get a call from Shumin, and she said, Mano, I said, yeah, how interested you would be to host a cocoa program? I said, well, no problem, but it's so fast. And I grin. I can't talk the language, and I go and say yes. I put myself in trouble. That's me, you know. If you read my planet, that's how I am. And the program started. We got Elno. And when I and Elno got together, we wondered what we going to call the program. So we did all kind of thing until, praise God, we get Afuawi. Now, the first program, this is history, you know. I hope you are mature enough to understand these things. That's our history. Now that happened to me. Now I'm opening it up. You never knew that happened, but this is how it happened. So the program is on. We're wondering who is going to be the first person we're going to have on the program. Well, the party just win in 1995. And Edison James, the Honorable Edison James, are the best man for how we put on the program. So I will start off. Halfway through the program, Eddie say, are we in charge? The lady who already asked for the program company here, wait him now, Edith Bellot Allen, because he depend the board at that time. And he say, well, we can just have the Creole and then Coco, you get some. So he meet me after, he say, man, we make a blunder there, you know. I say, what blunder? She say, you don't hear what the man say? Are we in charge? Ferdinand Frampton start getting telephone call. One day in the era, the bourgeoisie class and them start calling and say what nonsense they have on the radio here. That is backward English. That is broken English. We don't want that. Ferdinand put a packet and he tell them, he threatened them. And the program start going on. And it going on. It lasted for 5 years. And I must say, the people in Roseau who didn't understand, they meeting me, Mano, I cannot understand one thing you say, but I love it, man. I love it. So you see, if we keep demeaning Kokoi and Kokoi goes out, we're gonna miss a big ingredient in the local, in the local broth, We're gonna miss it. Because what we have to understand is the language has the same history as Taki-Taki, Papiamento, and Creole. It's the same people that was affected. It's just that you had English, you had French, you had Dutch, you had Portuguese, and that rubbed off. But the African man assimilated it. And then it got a little bit watered down because when we reached the Caribbean, you know what they did? Koze is my brother. Huh? They related. Guyana Koze. St. Kitts Mano. And they just split us up. Because they realized that it's a communication. It's a method of communication. So they had to mesmerize it. So we had Eleanor Roberts, we had Margaret James and myself. And it became a people's program. It was non-political. We made sure that it was non-political because any nigger we call in and start talk politics, you say, excuse me, off air, we don't entertain those things. Okay? Non-religion. And then we used to have a segment called 1 or 2 Cocoa Award, where we used to throw out the word and teach them and, you know, start going. Well, government change, new board of directors, them say they don't want that kind of someday on the radio. So, Ella, Shaman, me feel it. Shaman almost cry, you know. Shaman tell me, Ella's man, I don't know what to do. Then people say they don't want the program anymore again and so on. Me say, well, that are you, you know. Are you ask me to come hold the program? Well, me throw back the ball upon them, you know. You know, and that's the history of it. I could be given blame for not holding the fort, you know. So, the theme song that was sung was called Camilla. And that was by Anthony Gossi, right? And then, you know, Black Affairs also from Maragot used to play Kokoi songs. And the people enjoyed this very much. Another thing that used to affect is Kokoi speaking people used to hold excursions, going to particular communities in the island at those times there. La Salette, that's how I got to know Point Michel. Every time he's a Catholic boy. There we go, La Salette. Me myself can't talk Creole, they're just there. La Salette. Then St. Anthony took our reef. And 2 truckloads, you know, from Wesley. Maragot joining up too. And with their excursion, and of course, you know, what could happen. A lot of people got married in between. Somebody seen one another. Even though they can't understand one another. So, we had St. Peter's in Calibichi, and we had Isidore in Granby and Saint-Sauveur. So there was a lot of exchanges and people and discussions, you know. And another one was the estates, Londonderry Estate, Hatton Garden Estate, yeah, and Woodford Hill. And a lot of people from Granby migrated as workers into those places. And they started speaking, well, last joke, they say, moi même pas ça comprendre ça ça dit non oui qui qualité coco izoka manger. Anyway, my dear, it was lovely having you all, and I appreciated this. You all are just wonderful people, and I want to just remind you, last, because you're just patient. Every fabric of your being comes from Dominica. Every atom, every molecule, every proton, every neuron, every nanoparticle comes from Dominica. You are 100% Dominicans. So what is ours is ours. Let's keep it and
Yes. Thank you very much, Manu. And so tonight is the most wonderful night. And as a student of history, I'm excited that we're going to have this wonderful conversation, starting with Nico Tubulu, Raymond and Ophelia, and also Manu. Well, we'd like to open the floor for a little while to ask for a few questions. If you have particular questions, I'll try to get your attention. And also we have a roving mic that's going to go around. And while we're doing all of this also, we have Karis, former parliamentarian, who's going to sing us some Kokoi tunes as well. I hope he's here in the house. He's a Calypsonian. A 4-time Calypsonian. You would rather sit in a different way, sir? Can I get your attention? Anybody would like first question, 1, and then 2, roving mic, Doc?
Okay.
So you can ask a question, or you can also make a comment based on the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm a student of history myself, and I'm history of geography. And I want to add 2 villages to your Kokoi story. My great-grandparents came from Montserrat, so I did not learn a word of Creole growing up. So I want to add the early occupants of Canefield and Pottersville to your list of Kokoi-speaking villages in Dominica. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that, of course. Gentleman, right here.
Hi there. Good evening. How are you feeling? How are you? It's me, I'm back again. You're all students. Yes. I'll tell you, I was one of those who grew up, born in the UK, but grew up in Dominica. And the parents would not let us speak the language, because they didn't want us to know what they were talking about when they were arguing. So I lost that. My cousin, however, is fluent, so he's not teaching. But I didn't understand half of what he was saying. But the body language made me understand what you were talking about.
Oh, okay.
So I could only go by body language. Language is so important. The Europeans know what they're doing to enslave us. They had to get rid of the language. If they didn't get rid of the language, they couldn't have taken us the way they did. It was taking out the language, making sure that we spoke English, but we're so much better when we speak what is ours. I liken it to a cat that barks. Oh, what kind of cat is that? A cat that barks? That's not his language. So we lost it along the way. When I was growing up, I had an English, French, and Scottish name. I got rid of it 20 years ago because I'm not English, French, or Scottish. I'm African. So I returned to Dominica over the years, and I was asked, the question I want to ask you, are we ensuring that the airport that they're building is going to have Creole on the thing? Because the onus is on people visiting to speak our language. It is not, the onus is not on us just to speak English with them. So I have to learn it. Because we're so much better. I mean, black people across the world, when we speak the way we speak, that comes from the way we speak, we are so much better. Be it American, be it English, be it whatever, we're so much better when we speak our own language. You see? So I got rid of my Scottish, French, and English names a long time ago, and I would say what it is I call myself, and it's an African name, but, you know. So I returned home 2 days ago, and I'm now here permanently, by the way. I'm back here now, permanently. Dominica's home. England are done with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also have General Jacob over here. You could use this mic.
I am so very happy that our Minister, Honorable Frederick, is there, because I think he can take your message to Cabinet, to Parliament, and I'm sure with the backing of our Carinago-born president, we could get those signs in the airport carrying several languages.
My good friend Ophelia seems to give me a lot of challenges tonight. I hope I can honor this.
I'm talking for
and I suspect as much. I'm suspect as much. Yes, General, please.
All right, interesting discourse tonight. You know, the use of language is more than morphology and use of syntax, which our African parents were smart enough to create Creole. And Creole to me is almost like a bastard language, right? My meaning is that it has Carinago words in there, French, and African words. In looking at the African movies, the Nigerian movies, I can see a lot of the mannerisms. For example, when they beat their hand together, it's like in Grammy, fear, 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 fear. They also do that in the African movies. Fear my words, right? Waiku, meki, hanyo, waiku meki tuni. Waiku is a Carinago word for rats, right? Anaye utilala wayo, right? As Carinago words there. Also, Bantu word. In the African movies, they say, I am Rio, right? We say Anaye utilala wayo. Anaye was Orion's brother. So they were asking Anaye, Oti, where is? Yeah, mother, right? Y-O, where is she? Alright? So the language keeps on evolving, and my take is that of malapropism and the misuse of words. For example, our now new music, Bouillon. When I grew up in Granby, Didier Coffee, you can tell that, right, Didier? That Bouillon is what we put to the pigs, right? What you say to the pigs, amen. Amen. Right? Yeah. Bouillon, malapropism, like bouillon is what you do a city manger. You boil the pot of yam or dashing, and the country we don't look like a slice manger. We look at slice manger. and wash dash in. Like big slabs of dash not going to give to take from the pot and deal with the pot falling from that. Right? So it was called bouillon, thrown to the beginning to the pig. So what we ate was coup bouillon. Coup bouillon, you add your garlic, your lye, your whatever, your fish. That was coup bouillon. Now I'm hearing bouillon and I'm saying, where's coup bouillon? And then it's coming now in our music that it's now nasty music. This is something we put to the pigs now. I'm in front, you know. Right? The preservation of language, and we have to. The Europeans made one mistake, right? The Granby people, why we in Granby speak Creole better or stronger, you know, more distinct than other areas. The mistake that they made, they didn't divide us when we came from Africa. We came from Africa, Barbados, straight into Granby. So if myself did your pious came from, from Africa on the slave ship, you know, we came directly into Granby, so all the revolutionary ideas we had of revolting and marooning from the plantation and the language was kept intact. You understand? But in Roseau, people came from the Barrocan building and one sent to Marigot, one sent to wherever else, and they were dispersed. The whole ideas of revolution was dispersed. That's why in Granby and Senior, and it's on history books, that's why Granby we speak, or Creole was more preserved as a language in Granby. So my question this evening is how can we preserve and document more of our language? Because me as a communicator, I was involved in Community Creative Creole, I've done radio programs and hotel and DJ. How can we preserve that language more? Because it's on evolving with new discoveries in technology. You as communicating, you meet new words, new inventions, and wanting to communicate to the masses. Those ideas. There's a Creole word for computer, there's a computer. And I mean, is a traditional idea. So how do we do that?
Anyone want to share? Yes.
Thank you very much. Geno, I want to suggest that you continue what you're doing because you're a writer, you didn't say that. So continue writing in Creole. Give us all of those, well, Brigadex belongs to Sonia and her team, but give us all those sayings that you know exist in Granby that we can share throughout, not just Dominica, but the rest, because a lot of people are listening to us tonight. People from Boston, people from, even people from Miami. We have people from Antigua listening to us. We have Guadeloupe listening to us. And the other people who talk Creole listening to us. Because a lot of people seem to have known that we are having this tonight. So kudos to Ms. Joseph and Dr. Joseph, sorry, and Dr. Kazimi. I mustn't forget you and the rest of the team. So that's one of the things. I believe too we have to understand the value of the cultural links, and we have to encourage everybody to understand that Creole, as you said, is not just the syntax, but it's the tribe, the soul of the people. And when our younger people can relate in a more positive way, I think, to the Creole, they will keep it going. I think the keeping going has to do with how this coming generation deals with the Creole. I learned Creole in a house where I had mother, father, grandmother, grandfather. They talking Creole, they used to call it patois, and they used to think I didn't understand. But we still think children stupid. They do understand. Sometimes they use the words in a different way from how we use them. We have, for example, we say la mer for the sea. But sometimes they say la mer when they mean la main. Okay? And that which Sonia, our linguist, will call the nasal sounds, seem to be going. But we can encourage them or we can show them that we know that they want to say la main as opposed to la main. La main is sea, la main is hand, you know. So to me, each one of us here has to be a resource person, somebody to promote and preserve. Yes, Carol, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to my friend from Coptol. I'm watching you all. I forget names, but I don't forget faces. And I'm looking forward to you also telling us some of the things that we can do. I was talking about the cultural attachment, and we have to give English its side, I agree. But we cannot use English every time to stifle the Creole. That's why I listened to my husband and made an attempt to do nearly everything tonight in Creole. You can give him a round of applause. And he was born in Wesley, eh? So I thought somebody was throwing words at him, I don't know. But he didn't used to come to La Salette. And there are other ways. It's just make it known, make it talk about it. Government, I'm sorry to, government has to show regular support for it. Because an official, not necessarily this government, every government should show the support, should try to get it into the places that I mentioned, like the banks, the legal system. Already we have some of the books of the Bible translated in Creole. So, you know, get it to where it is important so that people can say, hey, that's not something we can put on this side. Mr. Lawrence, with your permission, I'll say that Ridge asked us to help him write Creole for his songs. So when you hear it coming, don't vex.
Yes, and another entity that can greatly enhance the preservation of the language is the media themselves. Working with the Ministry of Health, I've always, you know, and having to do PSAs with the media people, I thank them for the many times that they worked with us. But I always felt that media people who are frontline people must get under the skin. Because if they want a good story, they have to get under the skin. They have to get in the skin to bring out a good story. So I listen to a lot of the airwaves, and it's just empty airwaves. It's just all kind of music, just hours of music. And messages could be going on. And we could be using that space to enhance the languages that we have on the island. You understand? So I believe the media people themselves have to be part of the fabric to help to promote this energy that we want to get dispersed in the population. So I'm encouraging you all to get on board. You know, I know what I used to face was, but we have to make our money, you know. Yeah, we have to make our money, but by enhancing that, you probably might make more money. You understand? So media people, I encourage you all, get on board. I know you all are doing a lot of stuff, but get on board and help this situation. I created a lot of wonderful PSAs while the AFOA program was going on. I asked Mr. Joseph the other day, couldn't you revive those things again and just start throwing them on the air because they're there in the archives. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Yes,
we have a gentleman here and also a young lady. Please,
okay.
sir.
Francisco Esprit here. I want you to make a few comments, brief comments. Prosper, you mentioned the Kalinago language coming from Orinoco River up to the islands, and then you said with the exception of Trinidad. But my experience in Trinidad, there's an area in Trinidad, Arima, right? No, that's in the Creole, but in Arima, there is a Carib Queen existing there. So they have an election system where they do a Carib Queen. So I think that should be researched, that Trinidad also has that Kalinago experience. My major interest is in the African influence in the Creole language. And I'm doing some work on that currently. And following up from some of the comments made here, the English language only has 15% of English words. It only has 15% of English words. You have 25+% which are French words, 30% which are Latin words. You have how many percent is Greek? And you have a large percentage, well, a significant percent that is Indian. So the Creole language is no different. We have Kalinago words. We also have French words. And a significant amount of the French words was not the official French or the written French, was from the patois French. So a lot of the French persons who came here and contributed to the language came from some rural areas in France, the peasantry. And they were established in Guadeloupe and Martinique. And from here we got our Creole. The African influence in the early days of the Creole language, because by 1730, the Creole language was well established already. Very little change took place in the Creole language after that time. Africans that came, interestingly, came from East Africa, not from Nigeria and Ghana on the western side, but from the Malawi, River Shire area, Mozambique. And a significant percentage of the words that are African in the Creole language from the Chewa language. So we have that influence, and I think we should do some more work on that to understand how we arrive at the present language. For the Kokoi, I don't know if anything has been done in relation to the last Africans that came here at the end of slavery, which is in 1837. On the Don Francisco, we had that 433 persons that came, and we know the Africans, the people who carried the surname Africa in Wesley, they were one of the groups of persons that were on that boat. And it would be interesting to find out, did they make, are there words? Because it's not long ago, it's just 170 plus years ago, less than 200 years. 200 years? Just 200, that's not long, in terms of language, not long ago. They might have made some input into the language there, and I would really like to know if there are words in the Creole language, in the Kokoi language, that indicate some kind of roots in the African language. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So just some quick, I was made to stand, sorry. So just some quick comments. So I have lived, Gabriel Abraham, by the way, because we're saying names. I have lived in New Zealand, and one thing that I noticed from the moment I landed, so in New Zealand, if you didn't know, they have their own Aboriginal people who are called the Maori people, and from the second you land, every single sign in the country has the Maori word translation on it. So literally from your exits, your airport signs, your washrooms, your road street signs, every single thing that has a Maori translation has that on the sign. So I'm just backing up the suggestion that we add Creole to the signs, but it shouldn't just be at the airport, it should be everywhere, because I think that's also how you're going to learn the language. So for myself, I'm 31, but I grew up with my grandmother and my father speaking very heavy patois, but for me and my younger brother to not understand. So then I grew up, and then when I was in my 20s, my grandmother started talking patois to me, and I would look at her blank, and she was so confused as to why I couldn't understand her. I'm like, it's because you were talking to daddy for me not to understand for my entire life. so I'm not going to understand now. But then, because I did French in primary school and high school, I understand a lot of French. So when I go to Paris, I can read all the signs. I'm a lot better with reading and understanding the French and speaking it. But I can read a lot of the signs when I'm in Paris, and I find myself that my language that I would really love to be fluent in, I'm not. So I think that would be an easy way that people can learn the language, because when you see the sign, if I was seeing the translation for exit, then it's going to start to stick in your mind, and then that is how the younger generation then would start to, see the language and even learn it for themselves if they don't have anyone to teach them that language. So that's one. And then two, I don't know if anyone has ever studied it, but now that I live in Jamaica, I find that the Kokoi sounds almost identical to Jamaican patois. Yes, so I don't know if there's definitely some relation there that I think we could probably look into, for the history of it. And also the books. You mentioned one on Amazon. I looked it up. I found it. But are any of the other books on the dictionary, are they available on Amazon and just available for purchase generally? Not yet? Okay. What's that? We're working on it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss. Doc, we have someone here. Mrs. White. Mrs. Weeks. Mrs. Weeks. Thank you.
Do I have to stand? Yes, please, for the camera.
Yes, do stand,
for
please.
the camera. Okay. Well, there are ways that we can do things, and we know music sticks with us. So I'm just going to give you a little piece of something that Cici Cordero wrote. I never saw the woman in my life, but I know the song. Beke étranger qui vini Dominique ka vle parler patois pays nou. Mais Jean Roseau qui leve et si chep ka di yo pa ka kopran patois. Mes enfants moins qui te moins de ou ça. Moins hay yon langage mal prononcé. Moins sim yetan oti la ou sorti ki child where there you come out from. Dans ces moun na ka sorti alon ka pale en qualité cockney. C'est ani le kwa bla mode yo ki yo ka changer en tizing patois. Mes enfants moins qui te moins de ou ça. C'est le pour nous fini bêtise ça. C'est inutile ou di quiz di ois moi ani connaître pour puis Jésus.
Thank you very, very much. Yes, there's someone here want to share, Doc? Thanks for that, Mrs. Wicks.
Good night.
Good night.
My name is Janae, and I'm an artist. I'm a visual artist. I have a... Janae Bell, sorry. I post a lot of my work on social media and Instagram, and I really, really, really love Creole culture, but this month, well, normally I do something every year for Creole season, but this time I wanted to do something that was more in depth and something that had a lot more meaning to it. And I'm 23, so I'm really young, but I found it a little hard to find that information. So I found a lot of it online, but I feel like a way that we can make it more accessible to younger people like me is incorporating it into social media, having a greater social media presence, putting songs from Cici Cordero onto Spotify or Apple Music and then having the translations there. Because I like Creole music, but I can't find it except for that one YouTube video that's like an hour long. We all know, right? Yeah. And another thing that reached out to me was when Dr. Joseph was talking about being in the 90s and listening to a Creole program. Yes. I wasn't lucky enough to be there, but it is? Yes, but that's the thing. I'm 23, so I don't listen to the radio. Like, we're all on Instagram and TikTok right now. You're on live?
It's live on Facebook.
Well, we're not on Facebook anymore. So, like, is there a way for it to be on an Instagram account or like a TikTok? Because that's where everybody is right now. I think it'd be really cool to just make it exciting and find where the younger people are, because they want to know about it.
Yes. Yeah, and then we have Mrs. What time is it?
Good evening, everyone. This is to Mr. Paris. I know you're on the radio every morning when I drive in my car. I hear the Kalinago word of the day. But what is being done within the Kalinago territory to ensure that the language is preserved? Are there any programs with the school children, for example?
Yeah, we do some program with school children. Actually, I personally do a lot of children, not only in Kalinago territory. The awareness have to go island-wide, it has to go out there. I got calls every day from different teachers, especially this week, which is called Kalinago Week in the Ministry of Education. A lot of teachers and children call me. In the Kalinago territory itself, we are working to combine, it's a bit work. We had limited resources before. Right now, a lot of people are in research, right? So we just put things out there. Somebody asks me, what is the word for that off my head? I don't say it. I say, I have to research it to make sure, because when I give you a word, it's not staying with you. It goes to you, print it, you check it and make a very fit, put it on Facebook everywhere, and somebody has a wrong impression. So my colleague and myself is Gerald, which we share that radio program. And then we meet and discuss, because they're not only Dominican. There's a new book called The Introduction of Kalinago Language for the Caribbean, which is done by a Puerto Rican. We're using the Igneri because the language of the Taino went off already. So it's now standardizing a language that will be spoken all throughout the Caribbean. You will see 3 different maps coming, for example, from Trinidad, and different people who say, this is the original map of the Caribbean. Some of them has Arawakan names, some of them have Carib. But we have done, we have initiated in the Kalinago territory for the last 10 years what they call the Spelling Bee, Kalinago Word Spelling Bee competition, inter-school competition. That is going to help. We have introduced what they call naming initiation that will enhance people. I thought that was a very more easy and informal way. So if you get 100 your friends, 10 of your friends have Kalinago names, that is 10 names you can return your friend. And I asked them to please use it as your Facebook page name so that we can see you there. And some people are using it. So we're trying to use the media for that. And we are compiling names and watch for the meaning and make sure that when we get ready into the school system that we do the right thing and it is compatible with what all the Caribbean researchers are doing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paris. I think we have Mrs. Akpan. We'll take 2 more people before we close. 2 more. So we have 1 person here, 1 person over here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia Akpa. Bonsoir tout le monde. 2 points I wanted to make. We're talking about evolution of the language. A language is not it's not stagnant. It doesn't remain the same. It changes. And so, with regard to Dominican Creole, langage la ka changé. The Haitian influence is very strong. Nous ni mots actuellement nous ka servi, nous pas te ka servi avant. Words we're using now that from the Haitian presence here that were not used before. During COVID, for example, Creole speaking people would say mas, oti masu, but the Haitians were using kashne, and it became a part of our language. All right? They use machine for example, for a vehicle, much more than we do. I understand in long ago, people use machine, but you would say motocar, lorry, things like that. But machine now is a regular because the Haitians have brought it in. So we have the Haitian influence. We also, our position between Martinique and Guadeloupe. Guadeloupean Creole and Martinican Creole have a strong influence on our Creole. So somebody said there's no word for cell phone. It's phone? Phone. But we're hearing portable.
Yeah.
Okay? Some people say cell phone, more petty cell phone, but we're hearing a lot portable. And before, we would hear only computer for computer. Now we hear the ordinateur. So all of those things, you know, tablet was, well, you're right, it was pills, but now tablet is now, so, and that is a problem that we have. I wish that there could be an institution that would look at introduction of new words, because life is changing, technology. For example, COVID, people were saying all kinds of things, you know, because we don't have, you know, an institute that look at new words and decide what we can use. We hear tension for pressure. Muna talenta, it's pressure, you take a day. Mokale check pressure or pressure, right? But now I'm hearing tension, and that is from the Haitian. So that is language evolution. The second thing I wanted to mention, I mean, Janae was making a very good point that we have to find a way to reach the young people. I mean, actually, I asked Facebook. I thought Facebook was modern for young people thing, but if I ask Facebook, but I just wanted to say that, to mention an initiative taken by 4 students at Dominica State College for an advertising course where they decided to do a campaign to promote the Creole language, and they've created a WhatsApp chat group. And it is fascinating. I mean, they post a proverb every day, a word, a sentence, and so that is maybe, you know, a way that a group that you can join to learn. I'm very proud of those young people. They started with about maybe 8 people, and the group is now almost 50 in a few days. So you can see that the young people want to learn the language, and we have to know, even as KEC, we have to change our modus operandi so that we can help them. One question for Mr. Kokoy. Prince, Mr. Prince. I'm just wondering if languages in contact in Dominica, are there any Creole words used in the Kokoy language? Because I know in some communities, there are some people who speak both Kokoy and Creole. So I was just wondering, you know, if there are any Creole words being used in the Kokoy language. Thanks.
Well, it's nothing that I really am acquainted with. Probably Greg, who is there, who's going to give us a little performance, will probably say something on that. So sorry to put you on the spot, but I'm sure like nouns and places and things like that, you know, we would use. But in terms of, well, I mean, there was one word that we used some years ago, and that was a slang to express the sentiments of the people at that time. Goaye. Goaye is a Creole word. Goaye is chickens in a thing. Now, just to give you another joke, you know, I went by Fresh Market the other day, and I was looking to buy a pack of chicken feet. And there was a lady on the other side, and when I picked it up, I checked exactly 8 chicken feet, piet pull, in the package. Pied pull, and I watched it, it was $11 and change. So I turned to the lady, I say, Garçon, that is Goaye. You know, so that was a word that we used, you know, so it comes in like that, probably by slangs and so on, but as regards to the normal conversations that we hold, very little. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Prince. Hi, evening, everyone. My name is Michael Lees. I'm the president of the Waitukubuli Artists Association. Actually, it was very nice to hear that it is indeed Waitukubuli, because we've had this debate, and having that nailed down was fantastic. Thank you, obviously, to Yui and all the panelists. I just wanted to say a very quick announcement that the Waitukubuli Artists Association is going to be having an exhibition in December 7th, that I think would interest you all. It's called Echoes of Resilience, Fighting Cultural Loss and Global Oppression. And I think it's a really exciting time, both in Dominica and worldwide. I think people are waking up to the idea that it's nothing to be proud of to be colonized or to speak English and to re-tap into our own cultures. And I think that hopefully we're going to add our part through the visual arts as well as having discussions and panels. So we hope to see you all there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yes, one more.
Who's the person?
Mr. McAfee.
Yes, good evening. Just a suggestion I want to make to the Comité Poétique Creole is that the style of writing Creole which we use depends on knowing French, because there are a lot of accents in the words, like say S, E, acute accent. And I would suggest that we should adopt the Haitian style of writing Creole. Because if you look at a Haitian book and you read English, you will immediately read it with hardly any problem. Because the same word I said S, accent, would be written in Haitian as S-A-I or S-A-Y, which would be C. So it's much easier, if you speak English, it's very easy to read Haitian Creole. And if you want to check it out, go to the Jehovah Witness people who are selling the Awake magazines and take the Haitian Creole version of the Awake magazine, and you will simply read it and know what it said. Yeah? That's my suggestion.
Moderator, Father had his hand up, so if you'll just allow that one more, I'd be grateful. Thank you.
Justice Thomas, before Keck and I began writing in Creole, I used the English-French method. Now that we have accents, I use that. It's much easier for me. But what I want to say regarding the media, I think if we want to promote Creole language, we must write it properly. I mean, there's specialists in the Creole language, and it hurts me when I see some ads on the on TV, newspapers, not properly written. And with all due respect to those at GIS, I was a little angry one day when someone was reporting in Creole, and the Creole was written. It was really poorly, badly written. So we have to write proper Creole in order to help people to learn it properly.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your patience with me, and thanks for having me at this very important occasion here. Kimon, I want to hand this over to you. We have Gregory all tuned up. Take it away, please.
Thank you very much. Let's clap for our moderator. I think he did a wonderful job. Thank you very much for moderating our panel discussion. And thank you to our panelists as well. As a little treat for you tonight, before we go into the vote of thanks, we have asked Mr. Gregory Revere Caressa, who is a housing consultant in the Ministry of Housing, to sing us a little Kokoy song. And he has agreed to do that for us. And so we invite Gregory to come forward. Please give Gregory a clap. They need another mic.
Good night, everyone. Madam President.
Do you need another mic, or are you okay?
I think the guitar can project.
Okay.
Can you hear my guitar? Because really and truly, the guitar is supposed to be an accompaniment. You're not really supposed to hear it. Okay. First of all, I must say thank you very much for inviting me to do a little Kokoy song. And I was happy when Mr. Prince mentioned that Kokoi is not broken English. There is English, there is broken English, and there is Kokoi. So, for example, I am here. That is English. I is here. That's broken English. Midea. That are Kokoi. Just one second, please. Okay. Tell me what make you want for crucify me kokoi. Tell me what make you want for crucify me kokoi when you mama know and you papa know afu away everybody know. Picky nigga know Antiguan lay come Jamaican lay come in no way you can crucify you better learn sing, pray and talk in no way you can crucify oh in no way in no way in no way you can crucify in no way in no way in no way you can crucify all the time you talk you English me never crucify what make when me talk me kokoi you have a problem with tell me what make you want for crucify me kokoi tell me what make you want for crucify me kokoi when you mama know and you papa know afu away biki nigga know everybody know Antiguan lay come Jamaican lay come in no way you can crucify you better learn sing, pray and talk in no way you can crucify Maskita e bait, maskita e bait, maskita e bait, maskita e bait. Tell the nigga pray, tell the nigga fog. Maskita e bait, maskita e bait. Me no know uchi party come out, but all me know dengue debout. Me no know uchi part he come out, but all me know dengue debout. Prince tell me a the water where the breeder for mosquito and all what me tray I was slapping on me face. Me can't tap the mosquito race. Mosquito a bait, mosquito a bait, mosquito a bait, mosquito a bait. Rani Kokoga, but he matter day. Them when no ha hold fast, no go starve today. So before you nyam your vehicle, get wa matter and wa pistol, hung the song soft. Before you hold fast, drop off. Fobs, bring your pupa matter. La we make what tom. Nothing in the world better than wa little tom. Pong the song. Pong the song, pong the song. La we make what tom. La we make what tom tom. La we make what tom tom. Rani Coco gone, but he matter there. Them when no ha hold fast, no go starve today. So before you nyam your vehicle, get wa butter and wa pison, pong the song soft. Before you hold fast, drop off. Fobs, bring you poopa mata. La we make what tom tom. Let me hear you sing. La we make what tom tom. Pong the song. Pong the song. Pong the song. La we make what tom tom. La we make what tom tom. La we make what tom tom. It coulda be bread. It coulda be rice. Tom tom are the best song when you go a bed. If you want to get safa, just add one little salt water. Pong all the way. Our Rani Coco da say. One more time. Fobs, bring you poopa mata. La we make what tom tom. Nothing in the world better than one little tom tom. Pong the song, pong the song. Let me hear you. Pong the song. Oh, pong the song. Yes. La we make what tom tom. La we make what tom tom. La we make what tom tom.
Took me a few seconds to realize it's tonton. Tonton. Tom tom. Thank you very much, Gregory, for that. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And now I ask Ms. Nadia Rivera, who's the chair of the UWI Alumni Association Dominica chapter, to officially thank everyone. Clap for Nadia.
Your Excellency, Mrs. Sylvanie Burton, President of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mr. Gilbert Burton, Dr. Kimon Joseph, Head of the UWI Global Campus, and staff of the UWI Global Campus, Mr. Ulson Matthew, Chief Cultural Officer, Division of Culture, and staff of the Division of Culture, Honorable Cozier Frederick, Minister of Environment, Rural Modernization, Kalinago Upliftment, and Constituency Empowerment, and tonight's moderator, Monsignor Eustace Thomas, priest of Our Lady of Fairhaven Parish, our panelists, Mr. Prosper Paris, Mr. Raymond Lawrence, Mrs. Ophelia Marie, and Mr. Emmanuel Prince, audience members in the auditorium, and those joining us live via DBS Radio, Kyrie FM, and MO News, media representatives, good evening to all. I am honored to give the vote of thanks this evening on behalf of the Alumni Association of the UWI Global Campus Dominica. To begin, we give thanks to God, our Father, our Almighty, who has allowed us to be here on this occasion, and we thank Him for our beautiful country, Dominica, and its rich culture that we can explore and enjoy. We are grateful for the presence of the excellencies at this event. I'm happy to be able to note that when Her Excellency took up office last year, our E.O. LeBlanc lecture was one of her first activities, and she and Mr. Burton attending, and we are proud and we are thankful that you're here. In addition to their presence and at other lecture series that we have been hosting, and we look forward to many other E.O. LeBlanc memorial lectures with them in the near future. because you're going to be here for long, right? Our thanks are also extended to Dr. Kimon Joseph, who served as chair and also gave the welcome remarks this evening. In addition, we show our appreciation to Monsignor Thomas, who invited the Lord's presence through the opening prayer. Father Thomas, you too have become a staple at our E.O. LeBlanc Memorial Lecture, and we appreciate you. I also wish to thank Mr. Ulson Matthew, Chief Cultural Officer, for his collaborators' remarks. Mr. Matthew, I take this opportunity to renew UWI's commitment to working with the Division of Culture on this project and many other projects to come. I am sure that you and your staff will agree that we have been working well together and this should continue. And in addition, I thank Ms. Kimandra John Baptiste, I think she left, Deputy Chair of the Guild of Students, who introduced our moderator for this evening's proceedings. To our efficient moderator, Honorable Cozier Frederick, I offer special thanks to you. You did an excellent job ensuring that this event was well managed, although I see at certain times, especially with Mr. Raymond Lawrence, you had that little thing swinging left to right, and he never puts up his head, right? But nonetheless, you did an excellent job. At one point I said, Mrs. Mary better get up and just sing a song and end it right there, right? But you did a good job moderating this evening's proceedings, and we are grateful. Our esteemed panelists, Mr. Prosper Paris, it's nice to put a face to the person that I've been listening to every other week on DBS Radio with Hazari. You did a good job. Mr. Raymond Lawrence as well. You know where I stand. Mrs. Ophelia Marie and Mr. Emmanuel Prince, thank you. They were all wonderful presentations. You each managed your subtopics very well, and your points were clear, they were concise, and they were well organized, and your love for Dominica's languages and other aspects of Dominica's culture are truly evident. And personally, I should have a little piece of everything, because I think I'm Caribbean in one aspect, I think I'm Kalinago in one aspect, I have a little something in my hair. My grandmother was actually from Wesley, so I should know a little something, although I don't. And my parents, they actually used to do the same thing, where they used to speak. To a certain extent, I don't speak it well. I can speak a little bit of it, but I understand it very well, right? So thank you for what you have done for us in your presentation this evening. We are sincerely grateful for all the presentations by the Carifuna Cultural Group, the Carina Cultural Group, and Mr. Gregory Bear, my cousin up there. In addition to those on the program, there was a lot of work that took place behind the scenes to make this evening possible. And so, with your permission, we would like to offer gratitude to the staff of the DWI who prepared the programs, who wrote the letters, who made the calls, who prepared the room for us. And at one point, there was only standing room, and I see that they brought in a lot of other chairs, right? So we thank you. Moreover, we thank our team of technicians, Mr. Lyndon Lestrade, Mr. Javed Seaman, and the technical teams of DBS, Kyrie, for all their hard work. I must say a special thank you to Mrs. Delia Coffee Weeks, who assisted with the Creole head tie-in for this evening. Good job. And don't forget to give back the cloth, okay? Right? And to you, our wonderful audience, both in the auditorium and to those who listen via the media sources, I offer our sincerest thanks to you, our students and alumni and friends. Many of you participate in the UE events throughout the year, and we appreciate you. Please join us at our scheduled event, our next scheduled event, which is the Dame Eugenia Charles Memorial Lecture, which will be held on the 5th of December 2024 at the Fortune Hotel. And our presenter will be none other than Dr. Ralph Gonzalez, who is the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So we expect to see all of you here, right? So I want to wish you all a good night and a safe journey home. But before I leave this evening, you just turn to the back of your leaflet. Sip and paint, right? So that's an alumni event, and we expect that each one of you will patronize us. It's only $125, and everything is provided. Food, drinks, materials. You don't have to come with anything. Just come with yourself and a lot of energy, and we're going to make it a date, right? So November 16th, that's a Saturday, 7 p.m., right here at the UWI Global Campus. Ensure that you get your tickets early and on time, and I'm marking y'all's faces. I expect to see each and every one of you. Have a safe journey home, and thank you.
And as I always say, it's the job of the chair to thank the person who gave the vote of thanks. So I offer my thanks to Nadia, and I invite you all now to stand as we recognize the departure of Her Excellency and Mr. Burton. Feel free to stay and mingle a bit with us. We are very grateful for your
love to you. You belong to them here? Yes, I would here.